Dean Martin represented a very specific kind of male fantasy that was popular in the middle of the 20th century. He came across as the charming man who drifted through life without effort, always relaxed, always confident, usually holding a drink, and often accompanied by a beautiful woman. With his easy smile and calm presence, he gave the impression that romance, success, and pleasure simply followed him wherever he went. Many American men admired him not just for his talent, but for the way he seemed to live life on his own terms. His appeal went far beyond singing or comedy. According to people who knew him during his peak years, what truly set him apart was his attitude. He appeared completely comfortable with who he was and what he wanted. At a time when many men felt trapped by expectations of marriage and responsibility, Dean managed to openly enjoy women and attention without seeming crude. Instead, he made it look refined and natural. Women were drawn to him just as strongly as men admired him, and that balance was rare. What truly separated Dean Martin from many other Hollywood men with similar reputations was the way he treated women. He was known for showing genuine affection and respect, both in public and behind closed doors. Many women who were romantically linked to him spoke kindly about him long after those relationships ended, which was unusual in an industry full of broken promises and hurt feelings. Over the years, stories emerged about several actresses with whom Dean reportedly shared more than just professional connections. These women came from different backgrounds and had very different personalities, yet each was drawn to something unique about him. To understand this side of Dean Martin, it helps to look closely at some of these relationships and what they reveal about the man behind the carefully polished image. One of the most touching and complicated connections in Dean Martin's life was with Marilyn Monroe. By the time they were cast together in the troubled 1962 film Something's Got to Give, they already knew each other through shared social circles in Hollywood. However, their relationship during the making of the film reportedly grew into something deeper than casual friendship. People who were present at the time described a genuine bond between two individuals who recognized each other's vulnerability beneath the glamorous public images they were forced to maintain. Their chemistry was obvious to everyone on set. While many crew members grew frustrated with Marilyn's frequent lateness and absences, Dean showed patience and understanding. He seemed protective of her in a way that stood out. This care became especially clear when the studio attempted to fire Marilyn due to production delays. When she was replaced without warning, Dean refused to continue filming unless she was reinstated. He used his contractual right to approve his co-star and effectively stopped the entire production. This decision surprised many people. He could have easily continued working with another talented actress, but he chose loyalty instead. Those close to the situation said his actions were personal, not strategic. During that time, Dean and Marilyn spent time together both on and off the set. He brought her coffee, stayed late to help her rehearse scenes, and defended her when others criticized her. Unlike many men in Marilyn's life, who often seemed interested in what she could offer them, Dean appeared genuinely concerned about her well-being. The timing of their connection made it even more emotional. This was the final stage of Marilyn Monroe's life, when she was dealing with depression, addiction, and growing isolation. Dean was one of the few people who seemed to look past the famous image and see the real person underneath. While others labeled her difficult or unreliable, he spoke about her talent and fragility with compassion. People who worked with both of them later said that Dean did not just care about Marilyn as an actress, but as a human being. Whether their relationship was romantic or emotional, it clearly mattered deeply to him. After Marilyn's death in August 1962, those close to Dean noticed that he rarely spoke about her, but when he did, there was a quiet sadness that suggested a connection that had been cut short. Another woman often linked to Dean Martin was Angie Dickinson. If Dean represented cool confidence, Angie embodied the same quality in a feminine form. She was beautiful, self-assured, and unafraid to project her sexuality without apology. Whenever she appeared on the Dean Martin show, their chemistry was undeniable. People who worked on the show described their connection as natural and comfortable. It was not just attraction, but a shared rhythm and understanding. They seemed to move through conversations and performances effortlessly, making audiences believe what they saw. Angie became a frequent guest on the show over many years, and those behind the scenes noticed that their closeness did not end when the cameras stopped rolling. They were often seen together at private events, restaurants, and parties. Although neither publicly confirmed a romantic relationship, rumors followed them throughout the 1960s. What stood out was how discreet and respectful their connection seemed to be. They did not seek attention, nor did they go out of their way to hide. They simply enjoyed each other's company when they chose to. Part of Angie's appeal to Dean was her independence. She had her own successful career and did not rely on him for status or validation. This created a sense of equality that was rare in Hollywood relationships at the time. She was confident, intelligent, and emotionally self-contained. Dean valued his freedom and personal space, and Angie understood that. Over time, whatever romantic involvement they shared evolved into a lasting friendship. Unlike many celebrity relationships that ended badly, theirs was marked by mutual respect and affection that lasted for decades. And Margaret was another woman who reportedly caught Dean Martin's attention. When she rose to fame in the early 1960s, she brought a unique mix of innocence and sensuality that set her apart. Though born in Sweden and raised in the United States, she had a style that felt both wholesome and daring. In Las Vegas, where Dean and Margaret both performed during the city's golden era, her energy stood out. People who worked in the entertainment scene described her as unpredictable and exciting, capable of being sweet one moment and fiery the next. Dean was reportedly drawn to this combination. Their paths crossed frequently in Vegas, and after-hours gatherings gave them opportunities to spend time together away from the spotlight. According to people who witnessed those years, there was a noticeable spark between them. Despite the age difference, their connection appeared balanced. And Margaret was never treated as a lesser partner. She had her own fame, confidence, and control over her career. That independence likely appealed to Dean as much as her talent and beauty. Their relationship, like many of Dean's, was kept private. Over time, it transformed into a friendship marked by warmth and shared memories. In later years, they occasionally performed together, and their ease with one another suggested a history built on mutual respect. And Margaret spoke about Dean kindly but carefully, maintaining the privacy of whatever they once shared. Shirley MacLaine was another reported presence in Dean Martin's romantic life, and her connection with him stood out for its intellectual depth. Shirley was known not just for her beauty and acting skills, but for her strong opinions, curiosity, and unconventional outlook on life. During the filming of Some Came Running, people on set noticed that Shirley and Dean shared conversations that went beyond surface-level charm. She challenged him intellectually and introduced him to ideas that were unfamiliar to him. This mental stimulation intrigued him. Their closeness was visible during public appearances and press events. Observers noticed that Shirley brought out a different side of Dean, one that seemed more thoughtful and engaged. Unlike many women who adjusted themselves to fit his image, Shirley remained unapologetically herself. She did not soften her opinions or hide her personality. This authenticity created a sense of equality between them. Both were successful in their own right, and neither needed the other for validation. Within the close-knit social world of the Rat Pack, relationships could develop quietly. Shirley later hinted that she had brief but meaningful connections with men from that circle, though she never named names. These relationships suited both her independent nature and Dean's preference for connections that did not feel restrictive. Their bond combined intellectual curiosity, physical attraction, and emotional understanding. It reflected the complexity of both individuals, who were often misunderstood by the public. Dean Martin's romantic life was not defined simply by the number of women he knew, but by how those relationships unfolded. Many began with attraction but evolved into friendship and lasting respect. In an industry often marked by shallow connections, Dean's relationships stood out for their humanity. He was not just a charming performer, but a man capable of seeing and appreciating the full complexity of the women in his life. That ability, more than anything else, explains why so many of them remembered him fondly long after the spotlight had faded. This sense of privacy and separation from the outside world likely made it easier for Shirley MacLaine and Dean Martin to form a connection while keeping it discreet. It gave them space to explore their relationship without pressure or constant public attention. Like many of Dean's romantic relationships, what he shared with Shirley appears to have changed over time rather than ending abruptly. Instead of bitterness or resentment, their bond seems to have softened into a warm friendship. This pattern appears again and again in Dean Martin's life. Even when physical relationships ended, affection and respect often remained. It suggests that he genuinely liked women as people, not only as romantic interests, and valued their presence in his life beyond attraction. Shirley MacLaine represented a unique challenge for Dean. She was not only beautiful and talented, but also intellectually curious and spiritually adventurous. She questioned things, explored ideas, and refused to fit neatly into expectations. Their reported relationship hints at a side of Dean that went deeper than his carefully maintained image of effortless cool. It shows a man capable of being drawn to intelligence, independence, and unconventional thinking, not just glamour. If their connection was brief, it was still meaningful, revealing layers of depth beneath the relaxed persona he showed the world. Raquel Welch entered Dean Martin's life at a time when she was one of the most famous women in the world. When she appeared on his television show in the late 1960s and early 1970s, she was already an international symbol of beauty. Yet behind that image was a woman known for her sharp intelligence, strong work ethic, and determination to control her own career. These qualities reportedly stood out to Dean. He had met countless beautiful women, but Raquel impressed him with her professionalism and focus. She treated her appearances seriously, paid attention to detail, and carried herself with confidence. Over time, his respect for her seemed to grow into something more personal. Away from the studio, social gatherings offered chances for their relationship to develop naturally. When they were seen leaving a party together, rumors quickly followed. Observers noted the intense chemistry between them, marked by close conversations and focused attention even in public spaces. At the time, Dean was in his mid-50s and Raquel was 30, an age difference that intrigued many people. Those close to Dean said he felt energized by her youth, outlook, and modern perspective. Being around her made him feel younger, more alive, and connected to a changing world. Raquel represented a new kind of Hollywood woman. While Dean came from the traditional studio system and Rat Pack culture, she embodied a more modern approach to fame, independence, and female strength. Rather than clashing, these differences seemed to complement each other. On his show, she often matched or even surpassed his presence, bringing a confidence that shifted the usual balance. Instead of feeling threatened, Dean appeared to enjoy her strength. He adapted to her energy with admiration rather than competition. What stood out in their reported connection was Dean's comfort with her power and independence. Many men of his generation struggled with strong women, but Dean seemed to find these qualities appealing. According to those who observed them together, he listened to her opinions, respected her boundaries, and treated her as an equal. Their relationship, whatever its exact nature, was marked by discretion. Neither spoke publicly about it, choosing privacy over publicity. Raquel Welch challenged traditional ideas of Hollywood romance by combining beauty, intelligence, and ambition. That combination may have intimidated others, but it intrigued Dean, showing his ability to appreciate women as complete individuals rather than symbols. Sophia Loren was another woman whose connection with Dean Martin stood out, partly because of their shared background. Both came from Italian families, and that cultural bond created an immediate sense of familiarity between them. When they worked together in the mid-1960s, observers noticed something special in their interactions. It was more than attraction. There was comfort, shared humor, and an unspoken understanding rooted in similar values and experiences. They occasionally slipped into Italian phrases, shared gestures, and communicated in ways that went beyond words. Dean once joked that he would marry Sophia if she stopped paying attention to Frank Sinatra. Though said lightly, the comment revealed genuine admiration. Sophia represented a different kind of beauty than many American stars. Her elegance was tied to intelligence, dignity, and cultural depth. She carried herself with grace and confidence, qualities that deeply appealed to Dean. She reminded him of his own journey from a small-town Italian-American upbringing to global fame. In many ways, she reflected the sophistication he had grown into while still honoring where he came from. The Italian press took particular interest in their connection, turning it into a symbol of shared heritage and success. This added another layer to their relationship, making it about cultural pride as much as personal attraction. Despite the attention, both Dean and Sophia remained discreet. Their professional collaboration was brief, but it allowed for a personal bond that reportedly continued through occasional meetings at events and gatherings. Sophia was never dependent on Dean. She had her own career, awards, and global reputation. This independence made their connection balanced and natural. She did not need him, and that equality made attraction possible without pressure. The most complex and enduring relationship in Dean Martin's life, however, was with his second wife, Jean Beager. They were married for nearly 25 years and had 3 children together. Even after their divorce in 1973, their bond did not truly end. People close to them said they remained deeply connected, and rumors suggested their physical relationship continued for years. Their connection simply changed form. They moved beyond marriage while keeping intimacy, understanding, and affection. Jean understood Dean in ways few others did. She accepted his need for freedom and space while recognizing his loyalty and emotional depth. Dean himself reportedly said she was the only woman who truly knew him and stayed. After the divorce, Jean remained the emotional center of his life. She shared holidays, family moments, and continued companionship with him. Rather than jealousy or resentment, there was acceptance. Their relationship defied traditional labels. They were no longer husband and wife, yet they were not strangers or casual ex-partners. Jean remained his emotional home. This unusual arrangement worked because it was built on genuine friendship and respect. Without the expectations of marriage, she could support him without disappointment. Dean's comments about her later in life showed how important she remained to him. She was not simply an ex-wife or a secret partner. She was a constant presence. Their story highlights how real human connections do not always fit into neat categories. Dean and Jean preserved what mattered while letting go of what no longer worked. In doing so, they showed a maturity rarely seen in Hollywood relationships. Their bond continued because it was rooted in understanding rather than obligation. In many ways, Jean was the woman who knew Dean Martin best, and the one relationship in his life that truly never ended.